Only the Philadelphia Eagles could absolutely dominate a draft day trade and get themselves into the top 10 of the following year's draft and then fall short on blue chip players, man. That's the part of this that just really sucks, man, is that I do think this is actually a fairly decent draft. It just lacks the sizzle. It lacks that true, 8 to 12, real blue chip players in a draft class. I mean, there's some really good players. There's a few really blue chip, real true blue chip players. And you got to wonder, are the Eagles in position to capitalize on that? Today's topic, man, we're going to talk about one of the blue chip players I think is in this draft class, which is University of Georgia interior defensive lineman, Jalen Carter. We know this Philadelphia Eagles, front office seems to really be turning its attention and turning its focus towards some of these SEC players, and they seem to really love these UGA football players in particular, judging from our previous draft classes. But let's get into this one. It's going to be an interesting topic, guys. Jalen Carter, UGA. Let's get it. What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. So the first thing to talk about with Jalen Carter is that, if you look at this young man, it's a very complex topic because I think what we're talking about here is a type of player that I don't want to use the word generational just because I think that gets overplayed, and I think people attribute that to one too many players, to be quite honest. But I do think that you can honestly say this is the type of player that ideally, if you're picking in the top 10, you would like to walk away with this level of talent in that selection. You want this kind of player to have the potential upside that a player like this potentially has. And he's such a good fit for Philadelphia, guys. I mean, come on. This dude is a really good fit for the Eagles. But I got to be honest with you, man. The Seahawks would have to be crazy if this dude's on the board at 5 and they don't take him. But if he gets past Seattle at number 5, what I wouldn't give to get up and actually pick this guy. All right, let's get into this a little bit. To start off with, what is he? He's a 6'3", and this is where things get pretty dang confrontational, doesn't it? 314 pounds playing weight, but we saw it as pro day. He weighed in 11 pounds heavier, or 9 pounds heavier, 10 pounds, whatever it was, guys, at 323, okay? 33.5-inch arm reach, a 10.25-inch hand measurement, and an 81-inch wingspan is what I saw estimated from him from other sources. I think NFL Draft Buzz had 81 inches. Most of them don't have that listed, to be honest. This is a very complex player because he could not finish well, or had a very difficult time finishing the positional drills inside of his pro day. And that can cause some people to have a lot of concern that, look, this guy wasn't in shape. This is a very unprofessional move for, a guy that's looking to become one of the highest paid players, one of the most sought after players inside of this draft class. This is what I'll say about this young man. To begin with, I think we need to take a couple things into consideration. The young man was definitely coming off of what is a very complex, situation personally in his life. I don't want to go into details about that stuff, guys, because number one, I don't have details. I only know the same thing that you know, which is what was reported to us in the general public. I don't know the young man personally. I've never spoken to his coaches. I've never spoken to anyone that was involved in that incident. I want to stay away from that as much as I can, guys. I have no news to share on that. We all know the situation, and I just trust that the Philadelphia Eagles will make the right decision in terms of that. They know the details. They've spoken to the coaches. They probably have spoken to members of the community. They probably have definitely had conversations with the legal entities that are involved with that. I got a feeling that they got a strong sense of what happened in that situation there. What I will say is that going outside of just that situation, when you look at a guy like, what was said by Clay Harbor. Clay Harbor made some comments on Twitter, right, where he said, my man Jalen Carter looks gassed. And truth be told, the young man also was coming off of a lot of, kind of nagging little injuries on the 2022 season. He actually, on the first play of the 22 season versus Oregon, he ended up spraining his ankle or something. And that turned into a nagging injury to where we heard reports come up during the Peach Bowl that said he was still dealing with a nagging ankle injury. So could be unrelated, but also could be related to that week 1, play 1 of the season injury that occurred for him. And then somewhere around October, right in the mid part to late part of the season, guys, he ended up having, I think, an MCL sprain. And that caused him to miss a couple of weeks. I get people having some concerns here that he's had a little bit of nagging injury history coming out for the draft, and then he's got the complex legal situation. There's some risk here. This is not a layup per se. I hear you. I just think that sometimes the character's assassination that occurs on some of these players come draft, month and definitely draft a week. It always bothers me, man. They're kids. Most of these guys are just very young men. Most of us probably wouldn't call them young men. We'd still probably call them kids at this point. Although, yes, they're about to have to take on the role and the expectations of a man. No doubt about it. But, I'm going to look at Clay Harbor's comment, which said you had one job, and that's to be in shape for your pro day. Sure, I hear you. You do need to be in shape for your pro day. But, are we really going to act like all those mitigating circumstances weren't there? All those extenuating circumstances, I should say, weren't there? That he didn't have some serious issues that maybe were a little bigger than football at the moment. Like, come on, man. Like, obviously, that's probably going to take its toll. If he's weighing in at one thing at the combine and, he had to leave the combine early so we don't have any testing or anything like that to go off of from the combine, and then he's coming back into his pro day, and we're talking about this really short window, a couple weeks of time, and all of a sudden he's like 9-10 pounds heavier. I would say that, probably he was dealing with that situation, and that's probably why those things happened, to be quite honest. To finish off Clay Harbor's quote, guys, he said, "If you can't do that, the NFL will be hard for you. You can't physically dominate everyone. Not a good look." I don't know. I cannot tell you if this is going to cause this young man to slide down the board or not. I don't know, man, because every front office is going to do their own due diligence. Every owner is going to have their own comfort level of handing a contract to a player like this. I cannot say where 31 other organizations, let alone the Philadelphia Eagles organization, is. I just know that we have taken chances on really, really talented players before in our past. And I do think that Jalen Carter is definitely one of those guys that I think is very, very talented. The other thing that I heard kicked down the road here was there was a quote from one of the postseason games that he played in to where Jalen Carter, basically said he was a little bit awestruck. Now, some people ran with that and they did too much. This is what gets on my nerves about sometimes with this stuff, man, is they ran with it actually like trying to insinuate that he was saying like the moment was too much. He was awestruck in the moment. And that's not what I took away from it. It doesn't seem to be what the kid was saying. It seems like the young man to me was saying, "Oh, this is the first time I've ever been to California, and I'm awestruck by this moment of being in California and where I am in my life, and this different atmosphere. Like, it's just different. California's climate's different. All those type of things. It's a different area. It's a different experience for the young man." Some people kind of twisted that a little bit. I don't know, man. All I know is that when you run the film on this young guy, he pops out, man. He stands out on the film, and I'll go into a little bit of that real quick, guys, in terms of the advanced analytics. I went ahead and I included all interior defensive linemen, all edge rushers, and I even included linebackers just because some of the linebackers are in this class actually got used a little bit as overhangs, and they were rushing the passer. So I wanted to be as inclusive as I could while still bringing it down by the 20% snap ratio. Like, you can't just use a guy who's only pass rush once or twice. 16.3% win rate when you look at it in totality. Of that 16.3% win rate, I think he had like 24 pressures or so credited to him. 8 of them came from either sacks or from quarterback hits, which, when you're dealing with an interior defensive lineman, things that you want to look at, right? You want to see if those guys are breaking the middle of the offense for them. If they're making things really difficult to step up and throw the football, are they creating that havoc that you want there? And I do think that Jalen Carter has that aspect to his game. I think this young man, he's got a run-stop prowess to him. There's no doubt about his run-stop prowess. But that ain't why you're drafting this young man, right? Yeah, that's an added extra. But you're drafting him because you feel like he can give you interior pressure. He can be a pass rusher for you. He can be impactful in that way. He can make offensive coordinators really have to count for him in their game plans. I think that's why you would draft a guy like Jalen Carter. And if you don't get that vibe from him, you don't get that feeling from him, you're certainly not spending a top 10 pick on that position. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to do that unless you think this guy could potentially be that down the road. So I think he can be that. I get that not everyone might feel the same, but I think this is definitely a guy that if he starts coming down the board, if he gets past Seattle at 5, man, my interest are peaked. Like, I'm trying to get on the phone and get forward to go get this guy. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all's time and attention. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. Jalen Carter, University of Georgia, interior defensive lineman. Yeah, I think I would try to go forward if I could to go get this guy. Would I love it if he fell to us right at 10? Of course. Do I expect that? I'd be pretty shocked. You never say never, guys. You can never say that. But I would be shocked if that happened. All right, guys, I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all in the next video.